All right, welcome back. This should be the final video, or at least close enough. Um, I know that seems like a lot of candles, but that isn't all of them, actually. So, yeah, sorry about the miscellaneous pile there, but stuff's going to get moved soon enough. Literally moved. Okay, so this group here is the group that I had that said they were willing to help and wanted to help, but didn't really have a specific thing that they wanted to identify with. And so when I thanked and asked them for their help with this group, I basically said, serve or help in any way. I don't think I used the word serve, actually. I think I just said help in any way that you feel would be beneficial to my cause and a successful revolution to it, towards my goals. And I left that at that. I did ask them to coordinate with Bilal, which I've asked of all the others, since he's going to kind of be running that show. And they agreed to that, so I was very thankful. I asked them about their candle colors. I mean, you're not going to need to see me charge all these. It's going to take a while to charge all these candles. So these groups is what I should say. Make sure it doesn't look stupid. Yeah, these are actually three groups. One to go after the to destroy the business relationships. One to destroy the family and friendship relationships, obviously without harming the children. This is mostly just to create distance with the family, not necessarily to fracture their family, because, well, I mean, he's a jackass, so it's probably already fractured anyhow. So the point of that is just to put additional stress on this person to open up cracks that can be exploited. And then the final one is the destruction, or at least the shadowing of their relationship between the social media person and their audience. And that's actually the largest group here. Like, of course, I said that in the earlier videos, like King Paimon and Agarez and Realm are going to be, like Beleth is one of them too. That, I mean, there are several here that are going to be in all three groups, but the majority of the groups are for the working on the audience. Let's see, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that right? 3, 6, 10. Excuse me, 10. So 10 of these entities are just for that. Obviously, there's some overlap in with the other groups, but you know the drill at this point. I've already asked and gotten the confirmation that they have accepted these tasks. All I'm going to do next is largely just charge these candles, oil them down, and then light them up. Right? It's like it's after 7 o'clock at this point. So this is, even if this, I found a couple of extra candle holders, and so that's the only reason I can finish this tonight instead of tomorrow. I had some other rituals that I was going to do, but I had to mow the lawn. That kind of got in the way. So I'll probably do a quick thing later to show the candles are lit, and to also present the incense for all of them, which they know they are allowed to have. I've got some beer over here that they've been allowed to taste. So it's part of the offering too. It's my thanks. So really, they're getting paid quite well before anything has even begun, and that's pretty typical of me and stuff like this. So some of the differences you'll see, like in this campaign, is that I normally just go looking for 3 for specific areas, like 3 to help destroy defenses, or I might need 3 to help move troops and supplies from one place to another. Because you'll find those answers a lot, and that could be a lot of things though. That could just be, I've used that for health and welfare also. I've used it for medical personnel to help save hopefully as many lives as possible. So moving medical supplies instead of just, war fighting supplies. So at least a sizable amount of my work is beneficial, but that also means a sizable amount is not. So we got that. So with these destructive entities, well, destructive foci, I guess you could say, I'll be using the Dark Enchantress oil and the Funeral Pyre oil that I'd used here not too long ago. But I did want to highlight actually a couple other oils that I will be using. My general purpose oil is this stuff, which I've shown before. It's the Shining Veil oil by Hesperidia. But for, Orobus specifically, I got this from Hesperidia, who makes a Prince Orobus oil. I've worked with Orobus a lot, not like, not like Mike B a lot, right? But I've worked with Orobus a lot, and we have some good understandings, and I really like him, and he really likes me. So I was very pleased to have gotten that oil. So what I'm going to do next is going to be off camera largely. I will charge, bleed, and oil, and then I will light it, and you'll see a whole sea of candles inside of this baking dish, this baking pan over here, and then I'll start with the incense offering, so I can kind of show how I'm going to do that too, and I'll show you how I make some cedar incense out of a block of wood. So that might be interesting to some people, so we're going to do that. But let me get this other stuff out of the way, and then I'll cobble those videos together and get something useful for you. All right, so as you can see, all the candles are lit. They're doing quite nicely. I don't know if you can see it in there, but there was unfortunately a spill with the Prince Orobus oil. I lost a fair amount of it. I was not pleased, but it's my own fault. Okay. So what have we got going on here? Well, I said that I would talk a little bit afterwards and try to give you some tips of things that I found useful. Because I still have to do the incense. So I've got the coal. It's going in there. And so I wanted to give some incense tips here. Now, if you were to get, I actually really like this stuff, this sweetener resin here, right? It comes in chunks, which are kind of sticky. So if you don't want to go spend some time getting that off your hands, then you can actually get a little mini pair of locks and kind of grip onto it. And if you get a piece that's big, you can literally just pinch it. It will appear at the front, and then it's no longer big. It's a really easy way to reduce the amount of stuff you get on your hands. It's not everything we crush up is good for us to touch. So I do want to show that this is let me get this closer. This is a little running incense mixture that I use. I know this is myrrh. I'll toss this in here, but I use a running mixture, and then I bleed on it and spoon it in there. So I got this little spoon, which if you've seen some commercials before, you've seen it before. You just don't. It's been a while. I got this at an antique store in Tennessee, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. All right. So the other thing I said I was going to show you, because this is the actual more valuable thing here, is this is just a regular thicker sheet of paper. I think this is like 20 or 40 pound. I think this is 20, but I like to for projects that like really kind of matter to me, or that I'm asking a lot for, I will usually pay a little extra for what I'm doing, and I do that through making some incense. This is a block of cedar wood that I have. I've had it for years. It lasts a while, as you can kind of see. The hell? Something's making noise behind me. Hold on. Oh, okay. There it is. Give me that. Sorry. All right, let's try this again. All right, so I'll probably have to hide this block of wood. This is the same block of wood that I had in Hawaii, because I don't do this very often. And yeah, sorry, I'm watching all these candles because they're burning a little faster than I had hoped. Which means usually if they're burning faster, that means they're not burning completely. So, but usually what I'll do is I'll just get a really rough graded file. Okay, and then we'll literally put on wood. Not sophisticated, obviously. Doesn't have to be. It can be effective. When I powder driftwood from Pearl Harbor for various attributes and stuff, then I'll for various uses, then I'll use a similar process to this basically. And then if I want it powdered, I don't in this case, but if I wanted it powdered, then I would just take it to a mortar and pestle. But you see, not a lot of work needed. All right. With all the other offerings I've made, this is probably good. We'll see. All right, now this is basically just a paper folded on itself, because it'll act like a catch for me here. And now that this this coal over here is ready, then I will literally just tell them that please enjoy this incense that I've made from this block of cedar that I reserve for larger workings than are normal. And so this in turn burns it out. Now the reason I didn't want to powder it is because I can kind of take and scoot this off to the side with my handy dandy tweezers, which you should consider getting. Because once it burns, it's just sitting there, kind of like frankincense. Once it burns, it just kind of sits there. It doesn't burn cleanly or completely, and then you got to move it off the side. So, so that's what we're doing with that. So those are a couple things that I'm going to do with it. You can see, you saw my little mixture here. I'll literally just mix it up and then drop some on. They've already, not that they didn't already know this. I mean, they're not stupid, so they already know it's for them. They've already been told that. And then what I'll do is that kind of burns through. Then I'll put the rest of this on, because I don't pre-make this. I leave it in this block form because it's going to keep some of the oils a little bit longer than if I had done this in advance, and then it sits there for however long. You know what I mean? So this will kind of conclude the rituals themselves. I'm actually really disappointed in some of these candles being burned this way, but I can't help the wind, you know. And I can't sit in here without fumigation, so because it's some of the stuff produces a lot of smoke. There's very little white copal in there, or else it would be much larger. Let's kind of see where that's at. Okay, so there are a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Here, let's move this around. One is, you know, some people would probably say, oh, well, aren't you worried about somebody reversing what you've done here? And my answer is largely no. I'm really not, because you can offer them everything in the world, but I've given some of these entities quite a bit, and I have some. I'm not saying they're mine. They're not my best friends. They're not my BFFs. It's not the same as a really strong human relationship. In some ways, it's more, and in some ways, it's less. And I gotta shut this window. I'm sorry. It's rolling through these candles way too fast. Okay. So you could write, say, aren't you worried about somebody countering your offer? I'm like, well, they've been paid, right? And does that mean that somebody couldn't coerce? Sure. Somebody with power could do that. But against all of them, it's a bit of a different story, right? Because you can play word games with them all you want, because the words really aren't what are being said, right? Yeah, there are contracts and things like that, but in the end, you're not communicating with them with straight up just words, right? There's a lot of other stuff involved, and so you can banter and play word games with them and all this and that, and that may work for you for a while. But if this is something that they agreed to do, then they're pretty much going to do it or get reciprocity for something, right? So they came forward for this. It's not like I just called them up and said, hey, will you please do this for me? I said, this is what I want to do, and who wants to help? So they volunteered, right? So that does change the dynamic a little. And you notice I didn't say it was impossible. I said it was unlikely, very unlikely, but not impossible. And somebody said, well, they can still siphon away energy from your working, and there's a reason that I did this like this too, right? I mean, it's valid. It is valid. If you are doing this under your own steam, I gotta turn this up. I'm about to start coughing. If you are doing this under your own steam, right, your own ritual, maybe they're guiding it or something like that, because I've talked about doing that in the past. Very valid way to do things, and that's how I like to do things. If I'm just doing a single use spell with a short duration, right? Then yeah, that's a very good candidate for that. But here it's a little bit different. So there's nothing for them to boomerang. They can say, "Oh, turn this around on whoever sent you," and sure. Always. I mean, we just really discussed that. But since this was done this way as a petition, just a petition with some really good energy benefits waiting there for free, essentially. There's nothing to reverse there without directly contacting the enemy, right? I mean, excuse me, the entity, not the enemy. Sorry. So that's unlikely too. There are places for those things, but they're tossed around like they're going to work all the time, and they're not. They're not going to work all the time. It's still going to be, at the end of the day, between energy going one way, and if sent back, how much was sent back. But just saying, "Oh, I reversed is horseshit," right? You're not going to get that with that help. Right? I know it's not a popular opinion, but usually shit-tastic people are the ones tossing stuff at you, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're actually skilled at what they're doing. Right? There's some big differences in skill levels, and if it's a really hard-hitting practitioner, then stuff can still get through. Maybe not all the way, maybe not in the same form per se, but stuff can still get through. And so I'm really not worried about anything like that happening here. For one, they'd have to contact all of these entities and then secure their agreement. Now, could they coerce them for that? Like I suggested, yeah, they could. And part of that's because some of these are goetics, and you can use angels against demons, right? You can. But it's really important to understand that that is only one paradigm. Right? There are other paradigms that don't necessarily fall under that. You're not going to shim ham for Ash, somebody like the Fox Immortal. that's not going to work, right? So I knowingly used Goetics, or in name at least Goetics, for all these entities. Right? That was done on purpose. That was done intentionally. But if somebody wants to go through and shem all of those, then I hope they're getting paid something for it, because the person they're trying to protect is this is happening because they don't pay. So there you go. We're not talking like $10, $100, $1,000. We're not even talking 100,000. It's way more than that. So collectively. So this is we're pretty much done for the night. Kind of wrap this up. Like I said, usually it's a bit more concise with, hey, I went 3 for this, or maybe I went 5 this time, or I picked 3 and then 2 others said they wanted in. I mean, that's usually how this will go. So it's usually it's not more than like a dozen or maybe 15. So this is, sometimes 20, but it really depends on what I'm going after, right? How complex is the environment that things have to operate in. And so here, as you can see, we've had numerous subgroups going on for very specific things, and that's typically the way to go. If you have a really complex and hard target, then you're going to want to use who's willing to do it, right? So if I were doing this, say, like I've done this against, I'll say a school administration that had a severe sexism, sexual harassment problem. This was several years ago. I was approached to help with this by somebody that was directly seeing this. Thankfully, was shielded a bit from it, but it was happening to some of their colleagues, and notified me about it. So we did that. I think it was like 2 weeks later. Then most of that board got fired. So. Yeah, but that was like 15, and I did that because I was going after it very specific ways, including the public affairs way. Right, I wanted to stain on the reputation of the school. I wanted to, for sweeping it under the rug, I wanted to stain on the reputation of the department and the people that were responsible, but not the people that weren't. Right, there's going to be some casualties from that, but people that didn't do it can honestly say they didn't do it. I wanted to directly go after several individuals that were larger problems than maybe others. I'm not saying that there's a hierarchy, but let's be honest, not every killer, and they aren't killers, but not every killer is a serial killer, and not every serial killer has a high body count, right? But they still need it handled. So I prioritized that list, and that took that up to 15, if I recall correctly. It was either 15 or 12. I'd have to look. I don't even know if I have the original photos on my phone anymore. It's been so long. Yeah. So normally these are a little bit more focused. There aren't like 60 candles going or whatever it is, more than 30. So I think that's all I got for now. Here in probably maybe a few days, I'll start pitching out to some entities to see, not necessarily all Goetics, to see what their interest is in some of the other projects I have in mind that I need to get back to. So that's all for today. If you've made it this far, you're a trooper, and I commend you. I hope you got something out of it. And I mean, feel free to ask questions. I'll do my best to answer. If it's something sensitive, we may take it to like PM or something, but I will do my best to answer what I think you're asking. So, all right. Have a good weekend.